Buying up real estate sight unseen, many homeowners have some regrets.
This investment is the most important you'll ever make. But if you do it in 2023, it could be the worst mistake you ever make. I'm talking about buying a home, especially for first-time buyers. 2023 is not your year. How do I know? Oh, just the combination of high interest rates, high home prices, a supply shortage, increased cost of living, rampant layoffs, and a looming recession, just to name a few. Let's talk about how these factors make 2023 not the year to buy a home. First, let's talk dollars. The number one reason to not buy a home in 2023, price and interest rates combined for an astronomical mortgage. For the next 30 years, you could be paying thousands of dollars more than you have to. People who have made the plunge already are regretting it. According to home insurance company Hippo, at the end of 2022, 78% of homeowners regretted making their home purchase in the last 12 months.
But a new survey shows that 70% of new homeowners have at least one regret after buying their home.
The reason for all this regret? The cost of the home. And that was in 2022, before interest rates got even higher. What is going on with interest rates?
Rates could go higher, get there faster, and stay there longer than anticipated.
It actually goes back several years into the pandemic. I know, you'd rather not think about it. Me too. But it's necessary to travel back in time a few years to understand why interest rates are so high right now. During the pandemic, as you'll recall, a lot of people were in big financial trouble. Layoffs and cutbacks meant there were many who couldn't pay their mortgage. As a response, the Federal Reserve, or the Fed, cut interest rates. In March of 2020, they cut them all the way down to 0%. The last time the Fed set rates that low was back in 2008. Obviously, they only do it when things get bad. This move allowed people to refinance their mortgages and lower their monthly payments, keeping many people from losing their homes during a national crisis. It also meant people who couldn't otherwise have afforded a home were able to buy for the first time. All in all, this seemed like a win, but the downside was cutting interest rates leads to higher inflation.
The Reserve's decision to raise interest rates won't have an immediate impact on inflation.
The stimulus payments, so necessary to keep people fed and housed during the pandemic, unfortunately drove up inflation even more. We're seeing the result of that inflation now. Inflation isn't always a bad thing. A little bit over time is normal for a growing economy. However, if inflation increases at a much faster pace than wages, that means everyone's buying power will go down. People will purchase less, businesses will grow less, and the economy will screech to a halt, or at least slow down enough to hurt regular people. That's one of the ways to trigger a recession. It's the Fed's job to balance out inflation and support a healthy economy. As the USA's central bank, they mainly do this through setting interest rates, managing the money supply, and regulating financial markets.
Inflation back down to our 2% goal.
Let's focus on the interest rates part of their job. As we mentioned, if inflation grows way faster than wages, that means people can't buy what they need. Inflation means there is more demand than supply. People want to buy, but there just isn't enough to go around. As a result, prices go up. This makes it even harder for people to afford what they need. The Fed slows down inflation by increasing interest rates. This makes it harder for people to get loans, so fewer people can make big purchases or pay big prices. Fewer people in the market means that prices go down and inflation stabilizes. That's the idea anyway. After the pandemic, years of low interest rates and increased money supply thanks to stimulus payments, inflation is up and away. The Fed is responding as they should, which unfortunately for the average home buyer means that borrowing costs are also skyrocketing. In fact, borrowing costs are at a new high since 2008. That year again. We're not likely to see the spike stop anytime soon. The Fed has clearly indicated they are going to continue increasing interest rates throughout 2023. There's always the possibility that we'll hit a really bad recession, and the Fed will decrease interest rates to combat it. But I'm certainly not rooting for that possibility.
The Federal Reserve is expected to raise interest rates for the 8th time over the past year.
Besides, many financial experts are already predicting a recession. If the Fed thought decreasing rates would hold that recession off, they would plan to do that. But they're not.
Down inflation is to carry on raising interest rates.
We're going to see rising rates.
Rising interest rates.
So we're not likely to see a drop in rates anytime soon, and we'll most likely see rates continue to climb all through 2023. Just like inflation, increasing interest rates are not bad in themselves. That's because higher interest rates usually means a similar drop in prices. This balances out the housing market. However, we have not seen the price decrease we would expect with these high rate increases. In fact, house prices have gone up from 1 year ago. On January 20th, 2023, the National Association of Realtors reported the median sales price for existing homes was $366,900. A year previous, the median sales price was $358,800. That's an increase of $8,100, or approximately 2.3%. We are seeing some movement in a positive direction. When we compare January of this year to December of last year, home prices have gone down about 1.6%. But it's not nearly the price decrease we would expect given the Fed's high interest rates. If home prices usually come down much more when the Fed increases interest rates, why aren't we seeing that in this market? The main reason is something we've already mentioned. There's low housing supply, but demand is actually increasing. We're seeing an especially low supply for entry-level housing. These are houses that are accessible price-wise for first-time buyers. Demand is high since millennials are now starting to enter the market in a big way. They put off buying a home much longer than earlier generations, but now many millennials are entering the market looking for their first home without having one to sell to add to the supply. This adds a whole new demand segment that wasn't there before. Why aren't people moving and opening up more demand? This again goes back to the pandemic. Low interest rates opened up buying opportunities for people. They were able to purchase houses they would otherwise not have been able to afford. We saw a huge boom in first-time buyers, grabbing up most of the entry-level housing supply. We also saw people buying upper-level homes they could only afford because of the low interest rates. With current interest rates making these same houses prohibitively costly, nobody wants to move and lose their good mortgage while taking on a much worse one. Fewer people moving means fewer sellers. Fewer sellers means less competition. And less competition means higher prices. With new age groups entering the market all the time, we're not seeing a decrease in demand to offset these prices. After all, why lower your price if you have 10 or even 20 people willing to get into a bidding war for your house? There is some hope. As we mentioned earlier, there is some price reduction. Homes are also staying on the market for a long time, indicating a decrease in demand. But that decrease in demand just isn't matching the decrease in supply. Demand is holding relatively steady, so prices will stay high. Market experts agree that this won't be like 2008. It's a different situation, and there are too many safeguards in place. So no, there won't be a market bubble burst causing a major price decrease and bringing balance to our financial universe. If you are hoping to buy this year, once the bubble bursts, you're likely out of luck. Prices will continue falling, but slowly. Interest rates are going to keep increasing all year. That combination means 2023 is going to be an expensive year for homebuyers. Too expensive, in our opinion, to take the plunge. If you can wait even 1 year, you'll see a much better situation for both prices and interest rates. There are other factors making this a tricky year to buy. Rising unemployment has caused banks to tighten their credit requirements for loans. That means you'll need a higher credit score and a lower debt-to-income ratio to qualify for a home. Whatever your credit score and current financial health, you will qualify for a much smaller loan and therefore a smaller house than you would have a year ago. So not only are houses more expensive, loans have higher interest, and the bank will only give you a smaller loan. Not a lot to work with if you're looking for your dream house. You may not have thought about this next factor, but weather makes a big difference in home costs. Your home insurance costs will change based on your area, but some areas are seeing big increases this year. Areas with risky climate events like big damaging storms in Florida or wildfires in the hills of California have high insurance costs. Experts say these climate risk areas will see rising home insurance costs all year long. If you're looking to buy in an area with risky weather, don't do it in 2023. The insurance costs, added to everything else we've discussed so far, will make your home far more expensive than it's really worth. When I say what it's really worth, I mean what it would cost in a much more average market, or what the cost will be over the life of the home. Right now, home price, interest rates, and other expenses combine to make purchasing a home much more costly than usual. Some people, usually realtors, will tell you that buying a house is always a good investment. That's because property and land generally appreciate over time, no matter the economic fluctuations year over year. But this is a weird time. We're coming out of a pandemic when the Fed set their lowest rates in over a decade. Now we're seeing huge interest rate hikes to balance it out. If you wait just 1 year, you'll see a better balance of home prices and interest rates. The Fed's current strategy will pay off over time, but the market needs months, possibly years, to adjust to the fallout of the pandemic. Don't buy a home in 2023. Wait it out, and you'll be in a much better place for the biggest investment of your life. You may feel ready and like your time is now. If that's absolutely true for you, go ahead, get your home. But literally any other time than this year would be a better moment to buy.